the Internet. I'm Dr. Kenneth Regan, Computer Science and Engineering for the Internet class. The Internet is a great arena for spectating at games, mind sports, and ordinary sports. You can watch baseball games and football games on the Internet, but with mind sports like chess or League of Legends, what you get is a direct look at the field of play. Unfortunately, it's between matches of the League of Legends World Championships. But right now, in these windows, I am watching two games from the Isle of Man tournament being played in the sea between Wales and Ireland. It's a very large international tournament with a big prize fund. It was previously sponsored by Poker Stars. And this window has a game at the Millionaire Open in Atlantic City. This game has Hungarian former World Championship challenger Peter Laker against John Paul Wallace of Australia. Previously, I was watching Women's World Champion Ho Yifan defeat Elizabeth Pates of Germany. American champion Fabiano Caruana drew with Ukraine's Pavel Elyanov, and the number 2 and number 3 American players had a more peaceful draw against each other. In this window, I'm watching right now England's Gawain Jones playing against Polish World Junior Champion Dariusz Świercz. Okay, and I'm watching move for move as these games are going on. This is a far cry from what I did 44 years ago when I was 12 and already a master player. I was, for two of the games in the World Championship match between Bobby Fischer and Boris Spassky, an expert commentator and panelist during the national television broadcast by PBS with Shelby Lyman of that match. So then, no internet, we would get the moves by telephone or telegraph, and the person would show the move on a large non-electronic board, and we would give our commentary of what was happening in the games. Nowadays, however, though, people can get a much stronger idea of what's happening in the games because what these windows also have over here and over here are running analysis of these positions by computers. And it has been a fact of life for almost 20 years that computers are better than the world's best players at chess. And they've progressed so far that a computer chess program on my smartphone would wipe the floor with me even though I'm an international master. I'm not an active player like I was 30 plus years ago, but it would also probably defeat your opponent, probably defeat the world's best players too. And this sets up a real problem because there could be a way that this superior analysis could be communicated to the human players who are currently at the board as these games are progressing. And there are multiple ways, unfortunately, that this can be done and has been done. A player was caught keeping his smartphone stashed behind a wall of toilet paper in a particular bathroom stall, and he was going there after every move, keying the move in, and getting the computer's analysis of his games. Another case I was involved in, a player had a hidden camera in a pendant, and an accomplice was viewing the board through the camera and then relaying moves through some other electrical apparatus that were on that player's person. Okay. And why does this a particular problem in chess? Well, in baseball, you could use a camera looking at the catcher to steal the catcher's signs, but you only have 20 seconds before the next pitch is going to be thrown at most. In football, there's 35 seconds until the next play. Still, there are allegations that from video of the opponent's sidelines, they've gotten the idea of the play. I'm talking about you, Bill Belichick of the New England Patriots. However, in chess, it's much worse because you get a budget of 2 to 3 hours over the course of a game, and you can use that any way you like. And quite often for a critical move, a person will think 10 or 15 minutes or more. whereas it only takes a few seconds to get a computer analysis that's going to be, on average, superior to what human players can do with their brains. So, in particular, the issue is whether anyone else following this broadcast the same way I am might actually be in cahoots with one of the players and have enough time to get the computer information that I have here into there. Now, I should tell the truth that I am actually playing exactly the opposite role. I am monitoring these two tournaments in daily consultation with their chief arbiters because I am looking for possible signs in the moves that something might be amiss. I have a large research project tracing human decision making at chess. In a sense, I'm using fire to fight fire because my model is based on taking these moves, analyzing with them with computers, and generating from that a large data profile of how human players of all rating levels play. These games are stored in databases with millions of games, and the record of chess games is public information. Everybody has them, but what I've done that's special is I have the software and scripts and equations to generate a particular mathematical model that records patterns of play that are specific to humans and patterns of play that are more specific to computers in recorded games of computers playing each other. And from this, I generate a profile, and I can also tell a distance to this profile when games that are appearing in this record have clear traces of origin in computers and not the human mind. Now, there are actually two levels to my system. I should say I am not right now acting like the person in a casino in the eye in the sky, monitoring the floor at every time. Okay, I don't even have to be here. A website run by a great guy in England, Mark Crowther, is monitoring with robots these same sites and pulling off the moves and collecting them into a machine-readable format, which I can click and download. And then I can upload this to scripts that I have on the university computers. I will invoke programs there, or sometimes I use programs on these machines at home. And those, in turn, generate large-scale report files, such as you see here, with overall statistics on the games and a fairly basic computer simulation similarity measure. Now, I have two levels of my system, and right now you're looking at data from the non-incriminating level. This is, again, just like airport screening, where you have multiple levels of scrutiny. This is just the most basic level. I look at this just for any sort of hint that the person on site who has a lot more information might use in order to budget the attention, the scrutiny, discrete scrutiny, that officials at the tournament can use with certain players. If there is a problem, this level will probably catch it. But I've set it very sensitive and not very specific. So there are going to be a lot of false positives too at this level. That is why I have a second level with a much more intensive level of scrutiny where it should spend hours on a single game and use the full statistical force of my model and data banks. And those things are done completely off-site. This file, I have sent email to the arbiter of the tournament to view at a non-public link. It won't show with this contrast. And the arbiter has the path, but it's not linked from my website or any other public source, so it is to that extent private. But even if this file, this first level file, were hacked and displayed by WikiLeaks, it would not be too discomforting because there's no information for statistical judgment here. This is really just like an advanced box score of a baseball game. But with enough information to look for possible signs of things, but not really anything definitive that one could judge. Okay. Now, this does, however, set up one issue of whether I should be putting password access on this first level files. Now, I don't, because I don't want the responsibility of maintaining accounts and passwords, although I could. It's at the level of a course at UB. A password would be an extra rigmarole for the arbiter rather than simply click a link in my email. And I'm dealing with people for whom this is very new, and I don't want to necessarily put technological impediments. I want them to feel comfortable with this. But most important, I'm actually trying to cut myself out of the loop for this entirely, so that my involvement would be restricted to the more possible intensive stages in cases of real problems. So I'm hoping that the World Chess Federation will take it upon themselves to maintain a central server where my scripts could even be run in real time, and where the arbiter could upload the games him or herself. And then my scripts, which are all set, will automatically generate the same kind of report file that I showed you. However, as we're seeing in this course, maintaining a server bears other levels of responsibility. You have to, for instance, keep the machine safe and secure against attacks. You have database functions. The World Chess Federation would maintain an automatic database of players with their more official information rather than just the names as I'm using in my files. And would be responsible for the security of the information that is stored on that server. Unfortunately, the World Chess Federation has not yet committed the resources both that would be necessary for maintaining this and also for licensing the scripts from me. There's a second issue that's worth discussing in the context of this course. Here, I am viewing the tournament on the official site of Millionaire Chess, and I could also choose to view the Isle of Man tournament on its official site, but actually what I'm showing you is a third-party site called ChessBomb that is maintained in Bulgaria, which has bigger boards and a nicer interface. Now, ChessBomb is able to rebroadcast this freely because the moves are coming from software in chessboards. A DGT company makes that puts them in a common format that is on a server, and because of the openness of the internet, anyone is able to link into that signal and interface that with a GUI and broadcast the game and the chat channel as you see it. Now, there's the question of whether that should be allowed. Earlier this year at the World Championship Candidates events, the Aegon sponsors of that attempted to retain exclusive access and not allow rebroadcast of the games and possibly charge a pay service for that. And unfortunately, it was or fortunately, I'm not sure which side I'm on really, there was a reaction against it, sort of a semi-boycott. And for comparison's sake, if I watch live on League of Legends and they broadcast offline, but I'll be able to watch a game for free later. I'm not paying to League of Legends. And I should say that for chess, the typical audience is in the thousands. For League, it's in the tens of thousands. For the League World Championships, probably over 100,000, including my son, who has been avidly watching. So that's a question. And one of the factors that also enters into the deliberations over the cheating commission is that, as with sporting events, the happenings in the game are news, and there are people who report these developments as news. And as news, the information thereby contained ought to be publicly free. Now, most in particular in chess, I was, as I said, on a committee to draft anti-cheating rules for the World Chess Federation. One of the things we considered is whether there should be imposed at all events at a certain level a 15 or so minute broadcast delay. Some people implement this and others do not. One issue is that at a big tournament, like the Chess Olympiad, where 1,500 people from all nations were playing, There was much coverage by chess journalists, but they could not all be in the playing hall. Instead, they have their own room and are following the games electronically, just as we are now. And a delay would greatly inconvenience their live reporting of the developments at the tournament. They don't and the World Chess Federation, we realize we don't want a situation where we're looking at the board 15 minutes later, we've got an exciting end game, and yet at the same time the game is over and the players have actually come in for the post-game discussions, and the reporters are left wondering what happened. And in point of fact, in all of my involvement in the past 7 years in cheating cases, unfortunately there have been some ones that were confessed or sustained or proved. Um, it has not been definitively established that the internet broadcast was the key enabling factor in any one of them. In one tournament played over Easter weekend in Germany in 2013, there was no broadcast on Good Friday because Germany has a blue law against sports broadcasts on Good Friday, and yet that did not seem to make a difference in my statistical analysis of the two games that were played that day compared to the games played before and the long weekend after. Still, it is a step that other peoples advocate just because of the obvious enabling possibility. So that is a general question to talk about the internet. It is wonderful and open and free and allows human participation in real time, chat with each other, and sharing of information. But with the sharing of information is greater danger for misuse. And the question is, to what extent should we or can we possibly curtail it? That and my password issue could be a further discussion in this course. I'm Dr. Kenneth Regan for InternetClass.org. Thank you very much.